What's going on, everybody? It is the one and only Q here from Retro Q Gaming. It's been a hot minute since we've had a bit of a video, but you know what? We're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna bring it back. We've done something somewhat, kind of, in a way, similar to this. We've had videos where we've gone through award nominees and whatnot here, but well, this one we don't know how to feel about it. So, GQ, Gentleman Quarterly, if you will, has posted their list, their 100 greatest video games of all time, ranked by experts. Right, straight away I'm thrown off by that. We're ranking by experts. Get them out of here. Now I haven't opened this list, other than right here, but I haven't scrolled down at all. So we're going into this blind. 100 greatest video games of all time, ranked by these so-called experts. I'm calling shenanigans on this thing straight away, just because when they say modern experts, it's just it's bullshit. Now, real quick, they've posted this image as a header, so we're gonna start a little bit by dissecting this image. Top left, we have Leon S. Kennedy from Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 4 even. Wow, great start to the video queue. Resident Evil 4. Now this is OG Leon. Next up to that, on his right, to the right of him, we have a Sim, a female Sim. I don't know if she doesn't look like it's Sims 1. She could be Sims 2, she could be Sims 3, she could be Sims 4, but she doesn't look like Sims 1. But I could be wrong, but she's some type of Sim. Moving slightly down right from there, we've got random handlebar mustache dude from Disco Elysium. Above that, we've got Geralt from The Witcher 3. I believe I've pronounced that correctly. I'm pretty sure it's Geralt and not Geralt. We got Master Chief. I don't know who the clown makeup wearing looking, clown is. My guess would be Fortnite, just for the sake of it. That game is utter clown world. We've got Ellie from The Last of Us. We've got Link from specifically Breath of the Wild Link. We've got Femshep from Mass Effect. We have Kratos from what is looking to be the modern version of God of War. We have Mario, and of course we have one of the GOATs, Gordon Freeman. Now, let's continue on. So I'm not gonna completely dissect this entire list fully in its in like deep dive into every game and whatnot. We will talk a little bit about. We will cover all 100 games. We will do a little bit extra in there too. We'll talk a tiny bit about certain important games depending on what they are and where they're ranked. But if I do like a big deep dive into every 100 game on this list, we're going to be here for like 7 hours. Usually I'd have no problem with that, but I got something to do in about 2 hours. So yeah, I can't afford to do that tonight, unfortunately. But anyway, let's go, shall we? So starting off with number 100, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. KOTOR, original KOTOR, because there is a remake in the works as well. So I've never been a big fan of original KOTOR. Everyone praises it a lot in many different ways. Hopefully that's not playing audio. Get him out of here. Can I cancel that somehow? I guess not. But anyway, I was never a big fan of original KOTOR when I played it back in the day. I have KOTOR and KOTOR 2 with the intention of playing them. They're backwards compatible on Xbox. I have them installed. I just haven't got around to them. It's been a few years, so we'll see. 99 Rez. Rez is a great game. I really love Rez. It's very creative. It's a bit basic for some people, but it's got a lot of replayability. The music and the way it interacts between itself is fantastic. It's good to see it on this list. Oh yeah, I don't really argue with KOTOR being on the list because I don't have a really strong opinion on it one way or the other. But yeah, it's a fairly popular game, at least anyway. Rez, I'm happy to see on this list. Age of Empires 2, The Age of Kings. It's good to see this on here. Age of Empires 2 is a great game, in a great series, or at least a game that had a good series at the start. Age of Empires 1 and 2 were pretty important. 3 not so much, but you get the idea. So it is good to see it on there. It's one of the, we'll call it the OG strategy games. I realize Age of Empires 2 came out in 1999, but it's one of the big heavy hitters. It's up there with Command and Conquer, basically. There's a couple of others too, which we'll probably see in this video later on in this list at some point. But yeah, it's good to see it there. Number one, number two, always good stuff. The Return of Obra Dinn. Now, this is I actually have no experience with this game at all. I know it is more recent. Obviously, it's there 2018. The only thing I know about this game is that the big draw on it was that it looked like an OG Game Boy game. I don't know anything about it. I will have to skip this one completely. Wow, Super Mario Bros. Original Super Mario Bros. Coming in at 96. I expected that to be at least in the top 20, if not in the top 10. Although this is probably going to be a relatively modern list, ranked by experts. So I would be more inclined to see it in the top 20 than the top 10, or as I expected. I 100 expected to be in this list, though, because absolutely this game should be somewhere in the list, regardless. Ultimate Underworld, The Stygian Abyss. I don't know anything about this game. There's so many different Ultima games that they all just blur to me. Ultima, of course, is a big deal, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Okami 2006, and I've inadvertently spoiled myself on number 93 as well, but 94 is coming in at Okami. Okami had a good idea with the drawn aspect and the paint and the artwork and all in there, but I'm gonna keep it real. Everyone compares this as a, like, if you like Zelda, you like Okami. I did not like Ukami. I tried to like it. I wanted to like it. I played it. I gave it like hours and hours of proper actual attempt. I just gave up. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. But yeah, Fable 2 is also what we have on here. I have big beef against the entire Fable series, so I don't think any of them should be on this list at all. But you know what? Punny, Emma, you see this? It's right there. You finally made it. Your beloved Fable 2 is recognized. It's acknowledged, even if it is by so-called experts whose opinion is likely garbage. Anyway, moving along. I'm not going to get into the whole reason why I hate Fable as a series and why it shouldn't exist, because we've all been lied to and Peter Molyneux is a shill, liar, fraud. But anyway, moving on. Mass Effect 2007, original OG Mass Effect. It was a big deal. It was a big deal. I really like original Mass Effect. It has that lovely Star Wars esque camp that I love to it, and it's a good game. Mass Effect 2 plays a lot better. We'll probably see that in the list, probably somewhere a bit further down. But yeah, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 1 had many issues with the actual gameplay itself, mainly because of performance and just, well, the gameplay side of it. But a lot of that was fixed with Mass Effect 2. But there's so much good stuff with Mass Effect 1 that it definitely deserves a place on this list. Number 91, GTA 4. I'm actually surprised. Well, I'm not surprised that this is on the list, but I am surprised that this is so far down the list. GTA 4, I have exceptional memories of. It was a great time. The early Xbox 360 era, not just because it was the early Xbox 360 era, this also ties in with Mass Effect because of its release. When was that? 2007, yeah. So, that early era, I was fortunate enough to be in a really good place at that time in my life. And so many good games coming out at the same time, coupled with real life stuff. It was a golden era, or maybe a silver era, of just quality stuff between just the time of my life, real life quality games. Granted, we had some dodgy PC ports back then. Still looking at you, GTA 4, even to this day. But yeah, GTA 4 is one of the more memorable ones for me, if you ask me. To this day, I haven't replayed GTA 4 properly since it first came out, and I still arguably remember more of GTA 4 than I do of GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas. I can't really say GTA 5 because I've replayed that a few times since its launch. But you know what? GTA 4 is more memorable. It's got more memorable scenes, more memorable characters and dialogue and situations and stuff than any of the others. So even though I've played GTA 5 three separate times in the full story mode, I still remember more from my one playthrough of GTA 4 because it's more interesting. Definitely deserves a place on the list. Number 90, Super Mario Kart. My favorite Super Mario Kart game. Kind of tied up there with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is, a bit of a juxtaposition within itself. But yeah, it's good to see it on the list. I'm surprised it's this low, but yeah, it's a great game and it deserves the list. Hitman World of Assassination. Now, I I can skip this one completely. I don't like the direction Hitman took after, was it Hitman Absolution was created? I mean, there's the original series, then there's stuff like what was that one in the early 360 era? I think it also came out on the PS2 as well. But then when they moved over and swapped completely, they had like Hitman Absolution, I think it was called, and then they moved on to like the modern version of Hitman 1, 2, and 3. None of them. That's just a no from me. I'm gonna skip this completely, although I have heard many people talk about it positively. The Last Guardian, I feel like should only be on this game simply because there's probably a bunch of like hipsters that voted for this. We all know the whole story with The Last Guardian and anything from Team Eco and all as well, and the other two games in there. It feels like people are just putting this in because of the director slash studio's name, but sorry, I should say Japan studio, but yeah, you get the idea. Yeah, this game shouldn't be on the list. It's actually a bad game, despite everything else they've put out. But yeah, it's a bad game. Shouldn't be on this list if you ask me. It's just going in there on name value alone. Super Mario Odyssey should be on this list. I will admit. Super Mario Odyssey was one of the most fun Mario games I've ever played. It's up there with Super Mario World and probably Super Mario 64. Um, those are pretty much the three best Mario games. I mean, there's plenty of other good ones and great ones, but Super Mario Odyssey was, I'm not gonna lie, as much as I hate the Switch, Super Mario Odyssey was something special. So yeah. Civ 5, I've actually never played Civ 5. I've played some of the older Civ games, but not Civ 5. But even to this day, everyone I know still plays a shitload of Civ 5. Well, at least all the people I know that play Civ still play a lot of Civ 5, or even play this kind of game, play a lot of Civ 5. So I'm not surprised that that's on there. Wow, Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn. I do think it's kind of interesting that they put it in as specifically as A Realm Reborn and 2013. So it didn't have the original 2010 release date and the original 1.0 version of it. I still play Final Fantasy 14 kind of casually at this point. I barely play it. I'll turn on the game maybe once every couple of weeks, do one run or do a quest, and literally that's it. Like I'm far far behind. There were probably like 6, 7, 8 years, if not more, where I played that game hardcore to the point where TLDR. I won't get into it now, but if you follow my stuff anyway, I probably told you over the course of a couple of different videos where Final Fantasy 14 and an addiction to it basically ruined my life for a while. But yeah, moving on, I'm not surprised it's on this list. Shenmue, a game that's very near and dear to my heart. In fact, it's a game that's on my top 10 best games of all time list, by the way, which you should also check out on the channel if you haven't seen it here. I'm going to assume they probably won't put in Shenmue 2 because, Shenmue 1 and 2 would be close enough together. But Shenmue 1 did something special in the 6th gen. It really opened up a whole and redefined and created a whole genre, if you will. Redefined probably wouldn't be a good one, but it basically created a whole genre, and it's excellent to see it on this list. That makes me so, so happy. Bioshock Infinite, a game that should not be on. Oh, spoiled myself on the next one. A game that should not be on this list. Bioshock Infinite was one of the worst games ever, in many different ways. The gameplay was average, so I can't really fault that in a way. They achieved what they wanted to do, but the world, the characters, just everything about it, like all the character design, the character building, the stories, etc. Everything about Bioshock Infinite was awful. It was one of the worst written stories and most convoluted and terrible plot points and just character development and everything that I've ever seen in video games in, my 30 plus years of playing them. Yeah, Bioshock Infinite shouldn't be on this list if you ask me. Oh, and by the way, I have streamed it before. The archives are still on the channel. If you're one of those people that are just going to type down in the comments, "Oh, but Q, you probably just didn't get it," go and watch those videos. In there, I'm not going to do it here, but in there I explain how I understand the story and I go through it step by step and all of that as it's going. So yes, I did understand it. It's just objectively bad. Anyone who says otherwise is wrong. Then we got Dragon Age Origins, again an older Bioware game. This one actually deserves to be on this list, just like say Mass Effect does. Dragon Age Origins is really good. I never actually finished it. I got really really far into it, but I never finished it. But it is very very good. If you like, it's hard to explain. Okay, you know what? I won't get into it because we're gonna harp on here for ages. But yeah, Dragon Age Origins, excellent game. I highly recommend it. Fortnite. We're gonna skip this one. Firewatch. Firewatch was one of the big indie darlings of 2016. It's basically a walking simulator from what I understand. I've never played it, can't really talk about it, but I've heard positive stuff from people who I know personally who have played it. Tetris Effect, again, it's a more modern, updated version of Tetris. I don't know if they have anything extra or special in there as well, but it's a new take on Tetris, even if it's just a visual change, just to make it more accessible on modern platforms. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, I definitely think this should be on the list. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 is one of those influential games for like an entire generation of teenagers, which would be my age at the time. So, year 2000, I was 14 years old. I remember playing a demo of Tony Hawk 2 and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. It literally got me into not only Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, which I still love to this day, but it also got me into actual skateboarding. So yeah, this is a special game and it should definitely be on here. Secret of Monkey Island. It's one of those kind of legendary games that's always been synonymous with early PC. So yeah, it can be a bit tricky if especially if you're younger now and you try go back and play it and don't understand that type of game or didn't grow up with it. But yeah, it's good stuff. Pokemon Gold and Silver. So I was wondering how they're going to do with the Pokemon stuff. It's great to see Pokemon games on here, especially early Pokemon games at least anyway. Pokemon Gold and Silver to me, Gen 2 is the quintessential Pokemon experience, if you ask me. Gen 1 was legendary, of course. It is you literally cannot compare it to anything else in the sense of the what it did for gaming and what it did for the series and whatnot too, and the legacy it's created because of all of that. But it feels like Gen 2 was the refinement and pinnacle of that. So really happy to see them on the list. Kind of upset that it's so far down. Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime is a good game. I don't think it's as good as everyone says. Like everyone, gives it like 10 out of 10 and all of that stuff. But honestly, like Metroid Prime is good. Like it's a solid 8 out of 10. I have the remaster. I haven't played it. I like a year or two ago, I sat down and I played Metroid Prime start to finish on my GameCube because I never finished it at the time. Did it on a professional grade CRT. It's a good game. I'm sure the modern version updates the controls, so that's a very, very important thing. Yeah, it's a good game. I don't know if I'd put it on this list, but it's definitely a very good game. Undertale. I have to skip Undertale because I don't know anything about it, other than it's a wannabe Earthbound. But I have heard many glowing positive reviews about it from people I know personally that have played it. Final Fantasy VI. Okay, I'm kind of annoyed that Final Fantasy VI is so far down this list. 73. Final Fantasy VI is one of the greatest games of all time. Again, another game on my top 10 list of games forever. I'm not going to go into huge detail about it, but just as a great aside, one of our Twitch homies is he's been playing Final Fantasy VI properly for the first time. He played it a little bit when he was much younger, but he's playing it properly now. He's near the end of it, and he's really enjoying it. So it just goes to show that it does hold up to the test of time for anyone who likes turn-based RPGs, aka early Final Fantasy games. Spoiled myself on the next one. Yakuza 0 is definitely worthy of on here. I slept on the entire Yakuza series for like 2 decades until they finally came to PC. And then I played a demo of Yakuza 1 back in the day on PS2. Didn't like it. Skipped the series forever. Bought a couple of them on PC as they were launching. Eventually started Yakuza 0. And I compare my experience with Yakuza 0 like I did with Borderlands 2. Within 10 minutes, I was absolutely enamored, in love, and infatuated with the game. I played through the entire series from 0 to 6, and I'm leaving it at that. Definitely good to be on here. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Well, we all know Modern Warfare for whatever reason you know it for. Be it the cool, different, alternate take on the campaign as everything up 10 with all the previous Call of Duty stuff and all the Medal of Honor stuff and just several others in general, Wolfenstein, etc. Had all still been World War II at that point. Call of Duty 4 kind of booked that trend. It went with the modern one, hence with the name Modern Warfare. Kind of blew up with with what it did as far as just the great campaign. And of course, the legendary multiplayer was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was the biggest thing to propel online multiplayer, on consoles at least anyway, forward since Halo 2, which had probably been the biggest one ever, for consoles at least. Left 4 Dead 2, a very important game on here too. Left 4 Dead 2 is obviously fantastic, especially with the fact that they basically added in the entirety of Left 4 Dead 1, but you can play it with all the extra bonuses and benefits of Left 4 Dead 2, like say new weapons, melee, and new special infected and stuff. So it's really good in that way. It's definitely Valve being Valve, if you will, definitely worth it. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Now, I can't really talk massively about Majora's Mask because I never played it too much back in the day. And it is one of those very, very divisive games. You have a lot of people who will play Majora's Mask and they love it for whatever reason. Or you have a lot of, and they'll say it's fantastic for X, Y, and Z. And then you'll have a lot of other people that will play Majora's Mask and just say it's completely crap because of A, B, and C. I haven't played it since the N64. I have it on the 3DS, but I barely played it on the N64, so I will have to skip this one, unfortunately. But it's one of those ones you either love it or you hate it. It's like The Legend of Zelda Majora's Marmite. Thief: The Dark Project. Thief was great. I remember playing that back in the day. I'm not surprised to see it on this list, although probably expected to see Thief 2 on here. Maybe we will later, but I would have expected to see Thief 2 for sure on here now that we bring this up. But you know what, Punny, you got another one. You made it. All your games are thrown up on here. Let's see if we see any Tomb Raider on there later for you. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker as number 67. So Wind Waker is a good game. I feel it's a very misunderstood Zelda game, but I really, really do like Wind Waker as a Zelda game. It's pretty good. The only thing I dislike about it is just the amount of travel and the sheer amount of nutting in between all of that. There's so much downtime, and that can be said about many other Zelda games as well. Like, for example, you can say, oh, but you love running around the field in Hyrule, in uh, Ocarina of Time. No, it's kind of boring as well. Once you've explored it for the first like one or two times, you know where everything is. It's kind of boring, but you have to do it. So yeah, but it's still a good game. I haven't played it since the GameCube, but it's still a good game. Fallout New Vegas definitely on here. The best 3D Fallout game. Funny enough, not made by Bethesda. So yeah, between Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and well, Fallout New Vegas, we don't talk about Fallout 76. Yeah, New Vegas is pretty much the best one, and if anything of any of those three Fallout games, this is going to be on here. Definitely, like best in pretty much every way. My only gripe about Fallout New Vegas compared to Fallout 3 is the color palette. I much prefer the color palette of Fallout 3 with like all the gray and the neon green, whereas this is all yellow and orange. GoldenEye 007. I mean, this is N64's finest. What can I say about this? We all have it. It's a great game, great story. Well, I shouldn't say story, great campaign. There's so much good stuff on there, and at the same time, we all have those memories. Four-player split screen, maybe slappers only. Just as long as you don't pick Jaws or Odd Job, that's cheating. Persona 5. I'm kind of upset that Persona 5 is so far down this list. Persona 5 was excellent. We all know it's one of my favorite games of all time. That should say everything I need to say about the game without having to harp on too much about it. So let's just move forward and leave it at that. The Sims 2. The Sims 2 is well, it's The Sims 2. I mean, The Sims is The Sims. Well, actually, I shouldn't say The Sims is The Sims because The Sims 1, The Sims 2, and believe it or not, to me, The Sims 4 were like proper different versions of the games. The Sims 3 was a massive disappointment, and that just felt like The Sims 3 felt like The Sims 2 with all the expansion packs and nothing different. Didn't feel like it was different in any way. Sims 4 luckily shook that up, but maybe we'll see that later on the list, and maybe we'll even see The Sims 1, or maybe they'll just leave it all in here as just this all together. But of course, The Sims 2 is highly influential. I almost want to get like a bit of an older PC run some like Windows XP or something on there and slap on The Sims 1 and The Sims 2 and just some old like time period games based on high end hardware of the time, just to get the proper experience that I can do with all of that. And Symphony of the Night, of course, one of the two best Castlevania games between Symphony of the Night and Super Castlevania 4. It's no surprise that this is on here too. GTA 3, I'm surprised GTA 3 is down at number 61 because, well, that is old school, but GTA 3 has aged kind of. This is going to be an unpopular opinion. It's actually aged kind of poorly if you play the original version of it. I'm not going to talk about the remasters, the definitive editions or anything, but if you get the PC, if you have it on PC, you can mod it because the controls are actually much, much, much worse than you remember, and far, far, far too unwieldy to enjoy based on like after playing GTA 4 and GTA 5. But with the proper mod pack, GTA 3 still holds up really, really well. If not, if without the mod pack, it holds up really, really well, except for the controls and targeting. But the big problem is it's a big part of the game, so you can take that as you want. Super Metroid, the best Metroid game. That's an important one. Super Metroid had like a big ambiance thing going on, like a big locale deal, which was really cool and different at the time. Definitely deserves to be on this list. Fallout 3, okay, I'm not happy that Fallout 3 is above Fallout New Vegas on this list. The only main reason I could think that this would be on the list above Fallout New Vegas would be this is the what we'll probably see with Gen 1 Pokemon probably later. That will be my guess and assumption. Is that this is the one that pioneered the whole thing. Fallout 3 obviously pioneered the changeover from Fallout 1, Fallout Tactics, and Fallout 2 into the 3D new style that they have that has been prevalent in Fallout 3, New Vegas, and Fallout 4. So maybe they did that, but yeah, I do prefer. Actually, you know what? I do prefer the setting of Fallout 3 over New Vegas, and I do prefer like the color scheme. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, again, that was a pretty big deal. I'm not surprised to see this on the list. Not my favorite of the Elder Scrolls games. That's hopefully going to be much later with Morrowind. But yeah, it's good to see it on there. Even if they did kind of dumb it down, and if you ask me, Oblivion was the start of the casualification of the Elder Scrolls games. Final Fantasy 9. Final Fantasy 9 is great from what I remember. I've only played it once. I've got I have a huge amount of stuff done in it. I do intend to go back and play it again at some point. I have it on the remaster on PC. I do intend to do that, but good stuff that it's on here. Let's hope Final Fantasy 8 isn't on this list. I'd be pissed off if it is. Inside, I don't know this game at all. Like I'm just looking at the front, the image here. To me, this looks like a combination of Limbo and Little Nightmares. I don't think I've ever heard of this game, so I'm gonna have to skip it. Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is one of the kind of drawn style games that everyone raves over. I think they just announced like the expansion or sequel. Silk Song has been like delayed or something like that. It's probably never coming out. But I've always heard people like Shovel Knight. I've always heard a lot of people with massive amount of praise on Hollow Knight, even if I've never played it. Eco. Eco is a good game. I played Eco recently, like within the last probably year or so. It's different. If you've never played any of the games, well, say I guess any of the games from, oh my god, I'm going to forget his name. Anyway, the creator, Last Guardian, Shadow of the Colossus, Eco, they're all very different, but they're all good. Eco's very short, but it's a thinking man's game in that way. Dishonored 2, I've heard good things about. Well, I've heard mixed things about it really, but a lot of people praise Arcane in general, but I've never played it, so I will have to skip that one. Half-Life. I'm actually kind of annoyed that Half-Life is so far down at number 52. Again, Half-Life is one of those big games that's always associated with PC in a really positive light. You have Monkey Island with the 2D kind of point and click adventure games. You had The Sims for its other reasons, because of what it was and all, and then you've Half-Life for 3D gaming and 3D shooting and whatnot. But one of the big things about Half-Life is its commitment to storytelling. Something that's basically dead in modern first persons. Bioshock Infinite tried it, but that's just shite. Final Fantasy 10. Yeah, Final Fantasy 10 should be higher than Final Fantasy 9, so that's good. I actually just had a good conversation with someone on stream yesterday about Final Fantasy 10, so it is good to see that on there. Final Fantasy 10 gets a lot of hate for some reason. I don't know why. It's a really good game, so I'm just disappointed by some people. Spelunky, I'm gonna have to skip over real quick. I know practically nothing about it other than it's extremely popular in like the indie scene and all as well. It's one of those big indie hits because you got to remember, for every Spelunky, for every Stardew Valley, and for every Hollow Knight, you have 200 shitty indie games that become nothing. So, choose your words wisely, everyone, when you're talking about all these indie darlings and all. Speaking of Stardew Valley, that's coincidence right there. I've tried playing it, so I love early Harvest Moon games. I've been playing through Harvest Moon 1 and 2 on my analog pocket, but I Stardew Valley was supposed to be that itch that I needed to scratch my, or it was supposed to be the scratch to my yearning for a proper Harvest Moon itch after the whole story of seasons and all that yada yada yada. I bought it when it came out in 2016. My problem was I literally never tried to play it until like a year or two ago, if even. And at that point, the game's had like 7 or 8 years worth of updates, and I got completely overwhelmed with it. And that's coming from me. GTA 5, I'm not surprised this is on here. It's like the second biggest selling game of all time. I think it's only next to Minecraft. I think it's beaten out Tetris at this point, but it's next to Minecraft. So, I mean, it deserves a place on the list, obviously. They just need to hurry up and make GTA 6. God of War 2018. I'm actually surprised this is so low. With modern games critics and modern games experts, I expected this to be like in top 10. Part of me even suspected when I saw it in the image. I have two expectations. We'll call it four expectations because two of them are a game and its sequel. I had four expectations for number one because modern game experts. I expected either God of War Ragnarok, The Last of Us, or The Last of Us Part Two to be number one. We'll have to wait and see. But given the fact that this is so far down, maybe I'm wrong. I thought God of War was a bit overrated. God of War was never my thing. I played this on PC, just didn't do it for me. I played it to completion, did a ton of all the side quests. Didn't do all of them, but I did a ton of them, including beat all the Valkyries. So, and even the Queen Valkyrie Mother, whatever her name is. But yeah, it just doesn't do it for me. Destiny should not be on this list. It's an absolutely, truly awful game in so many different ways that I won't get into. But yeah, it shouldn't be on here. It's pure, unadulterated trash garbage. Halo 3 is another one of those games that helped define and set the landmark thing for the early days of Xbox 360. It helped in there with the likes of, say, Call of Duty 4 with the online stuff as well. Uh, Great game. And Morrowind, number 44, Morrowind, my personal favorite Elder Scrolls game, even if it is a little bit difficult to go back to if you haven't played it before. It was the game, the last Elder Scrolls game where they kept the like D&D style uh, character roles and skill checks and all in that as well, which unfortunately is gone with the more modern games, and they're just not as fun because of it. Nier, I'm gonna skip Nier. I've played Nier, right? I've played this game to completion. I did the entirety of the first story. It just ain't it, dog. To me, this game screams one thing. Everybody loves to thirst after, robo waifus. And all they do is just because they need to cope about the whole thing to say, no, I like games for story. I don't just like this game because of that. They come up with all this bullshit thesis and all this bullshit theory and all behind it just to try justify and lie that they have a different reason for liking the game. It's not good at all. Chrono Trigger, a masterpiece. No more needs to be said. The Sims, okay. Since we are doing like sequels and whatnot like that, I mean, I should have guessed with Final Fantasy 9 and 10, but and Elder Scrolls, I guess as well. But with The Sims being a higher place than Sims 2, it doesn't surprise me. I'm almost 100% sure we will see Pokemon Gen 1 at a higher point now as well because we can confirm this kind of stuff. So yeah, The Sims for what it did. It's like a special thing. It created what it did, and yeah, we leave it at that. Super Mario Galaxy, good game, fun. I tried playing it recently again, but my Wiimote was acting up. I'm not so. I'm almost. I might be surprised to see it on this list, even though it is a very good game. What Remains of Edith Finch is another one of those indie darling walking simulators. So went down too far. Indie darling walking simulators. It's been really popular and really well received for the people who have played it. Again, just like say Firewatch, the people that I personally know who have played it have spoken highly of it. I've never played it. I think I own it, maybe. Hades. Hades is one of those good. Damn, I spoiled myself on the next one. Hades is a really good game. From again, what I'm led to believe, it's not my kind of game, but I played Pyre, which is also from the studio that made Hades. But Hades is one of those big indie hits as well. Again, heard lots of good things. Silent Hill 2, again, another masterpiece. Let's hope Bloober don't fuck it up, and I don't trust them not to. But thankfully, the original is still a masterpiece. Super Mario Bros. 3, I'm not surprised this is on here. Definitely kind of expected this, or maybe this and Super Mario Bros. 1 to be high up in this list, maybe top 20 kind of thing. But yeah, I'm not going to go massively into detail about it, but Super Mario Bros. 3, better than Super Mario Bros. 1 and 2 in pretty much every way. Not a patch on Super Mario World, of course, but yeah, 16-bit versus 8-bit. It's the power of SNES. They make better stuff in pretty much every way. Portal. I'm not surprised Portal's on here. Portal's great. I won't say it opened up a new genre because there's really not much like it, other than maybe Portal 2. And I wouldn't count stuff like Desk Job or The Lab, stuff like that. But, Portal is very niche. Because of its sense of humor from Portal 1 and 2, it's got a very carved out niche forever at this point. Especially because of the cake meme. So, that will go down in history forever because of that. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. I'm actually going to completely disagree with this one. Mainly because Uncharted 2 was the Uncharted game that turned me off Uncharted permanently, forever. I skipped it back on the PS3. I skipped Uncharted 1. It looked like, to me, male Tomb Raider. Like Sony were trying to make their own one after kind of losing the perception that they were the Tomb Raider platform. So several years later, I played the Nathan Drake collection. I played through the first Uncharted. It was pretty good. It was decent. It was above average. Everyone seems to hate the first one, but I never understood why. I played it and liked it. But Uncharted 2, for the first 2/3 of the game, was fine. It was more of the same from the first one. But the last 1/3 of the game was so bad, it turned me off the series completely, and I never played the third one. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I'm almost kind of upset that this is down at number 33. MGS3 at 33. I'm kind of disappointed that it's down this far. It is the best MGS game. It's very different in mechanics and whatnot from the others. Yeah, great game. Happy to see it on here. Unhappy to see it so far down. Deus Ex, number 32. Deus Ex is another one of those games that's, quintessential. Is quintessential? No. Yeah, I guess it would be. It would be one of the quintessential PC games that everyone speaks of fondly. I mean, there's a reason why J.C. Denton is kind of a meme. Not even a meme, but it's a reoccurring pop culture reference these days. And number 31, Shadow of the Colossus. Now, this is good. Shadow of the Colossus is an excellent game. I recently played, obviously I played through the PS4 remake, which was fantastic. It was one of the two Sony games I actually want to come to PC. The other was The Last of Us, but we won't talk about that. Yeah, and recently I played through the PS2 version on the stream, and yeah, Shadow of the Colossus is something special. It's the best of his three games between Eco, Last Guardian, and Shadow of the Colossus. This is definitely the way to go, and the number one when it comes to that. I'm almost surprised it's not higher. Outer Wilds again was kind of one of those indie darlings. Granted, it was one of the higher budget, higher tier indie darlings, kind of like Disco Elysium. It's one of the more modern ones. I haven't played it. And in fact, I don't think I know anyone who's played it, so I just kind of have to skip this one. Journey. I've heard good things about Journey, but nothing major. Nothing. I've heard like one person um, that I actually know talk about Journey in a positive light, so I guess I'll just have to kind of skip it. The Last of Us Part Two. I'm kind of surprised this is one of the games I said that I expected to possibly be up at number one. So this one is down here. This game should not be here. It should not be on this list. It's trash in pretty much every way. Street Fighter Two. I can understand why they put in base version of Street Fighter Two because it's the foundation and kind of what set everything on fire and in motion. Um, Although, funny enough, they're not using a screenshot from Street Fighter 2 because this has the like charge bars and stuff, the super ones. But yeah, it is what it is. Street Fighter 2 is good stuff. Even if what's it called? Even if Tournament Edition, or no, sorry, even if Turbo, aka Hyper Fighting for you Americans out there, is the best version of Street Fighter 2. Link to the Past, I'm definitely putting this on here. The best Zelda game, of course. I've been playing it recently myself as well. And there's Pokemon Red and Blue, so Gen 1 definitely deserves to be on there. And yeah, I can't really argue or go too big into that. Well, I'm going. They're doing like the blurbs are so small at this point, so I'm accidentally scrolling through them. Minecraft, I can understand, of course, why it's on there. It's the biggest game of all time right now. So I think there's like 200 million copies sold, which is somehow still even more than GTA 5. Bioshock. This goes back to 2007. This goes back to what we talked about with Mass Effect, and there was another game I brought up at that time as well. I think it was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, but there was a couple of games we talked about back then that had all of that, and naturally, Bioshock is the of all of those games, Bioshock is the one that always stands out to me as the beacon, the number one like reminder of everything that was going on at that time. A great game, like it still had that commitment to storytelling that say Half Life and Half Life Two had. So even though it was a first person shooter, but it was more like a story. It was more like a story based game or narrative heavy game that was told in first person. Something that nothing can really replace nowadays, anyway, or nothing could really replicate, I should say. But yeah, between that and everything going on in life, Bioshock 2007 was a good time. World of Warcraft. I'm actually going to have to skip this because I've never played World of Warcraft. Halo Combat Evolved. I'm almost surprised Halo 2. Well, Halo 2 is probably going to be higher because we've seen Halo 3. Halo Combat Evolved was obviously one of the big jumps and big improvements in what that gen at the time could do, especially with the powerful Xbox hardware, on console at least anyway. Even though it did come to PC as well shortly after. But yeah, I love Halo Combat Evolved. It's fantastic. As much as Halo 5 and Halo Infinite have completely fallen off and the series is basically destitute at this point to me, Halo Combat Evolved is special. Elden Ring, I'm going to skip any Soulsborne games that are on here because, well, they're Soulsborne games. Doom, I'm really surprised Doom isn't. Oh, I spoiled myself on the next one. I'm really surprised Doom isn't in the top 10. Doom is again something special. It's one of those games that's synonymous with PC and set a whole genre up in arms. I know technically, Wolfenstein 3D did predate it, but Doom is Doom. It runs on everything. Super Mario 64. I can't really say much about Super Mario 64. Otherwise, it is fantastic. It's great that they have like the switch to 3D, the like different objectives, the different things you can do with the likes of coins and red coins and whatnot. The only real true problem with Super Mario 64 is the camera. It's extremely difficult to play with the camera in modern 2023. Final Fantasy 7. Number 17. This game definitely deserves to be on here. It's one of the greatest games of all time. I'm not going to go too into detail of it. You know Final Fantasy 7. It should be on here. Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. This is where the whole modern, expert thing is really kind of showing itself in there. The fact that they put Skyrim in here. Skyrim is obviously, technically it's the biggest commercial version, the biggest commercial success, the biggest popularity success and whatnot of the Elder Scrolls games. Doesn't necessarily make it the best one, but I mean, I can't really talk, can I? I got a Skyrim tattoo, so it is what it is. It should be on the list. Don't get me wrong. It should be on the list. Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm gonna skip this. Red Dead Redemption to me as a series doesn't work. I never played the second one. I tried playing the first one several times. I did not like it. Super Mario World. I'm glad this is on here after we saw Super Mario and Super Mario 3 because Super Mario World is the ultimate 2D side-scrolling Mario game, along with probably Mario Odyssey as the 3D version. I'm kind of upset that we haven't seen Sonic Adventure on this list at all. Not Sonic Adventure 2. I wouldn't expect that to be on there, but Sonic Adventure 1. And then we got Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I'm no surprise that this is on here. I won't go big into detail on this either because we all know what's there to say about this. To many people, this is the best 3D Zelda game. To many people, it's the best Zelda game. I would probably call it the best 3D Zelda game, but I wouldn't call it the best Zelda game. That's still Link to the Past. Disco Elysium, kind of blasphemy that this is number 12 above some of the other stuff that we've seen. But again, this is one of those high-profile indie darlings that blew up and took over everything, kind of like Outer Wilds. But it stands as a bit of an indictment as the modern gaming expert slash critic thing that it's number 12 above so many other games. We also haven't seen Half-Life 2. We saw Half-Life 1 there, but Resident Evil 4, I'm not surprised that this is on here because we did see Leon in the image at the start. Although I will admit I forgot about that he was in that image. Now that I'm thinking about who else was in that image. Oh no. Okay, we're not going to go. I just remembered someone who's in that image that we still haven't seen yet. Let's move along. Resident Evil 4 obviously did massive things for the series. It reinvented the old formula, which wasn't a bad formula. I still love that. In fact, that's still my preferred version and style of Resident Evil in the old fixed camera one because you lose something in seeing all this. But this obviously shaped the future of Resident Evil going forward, including the remakes of 2, 3, and I mean, you can't really. It doesn't really apply for 4 because the game played like that anyway. But Resident Evil 2 and 3, they changed it into a different style completely for it. Half-Life 2, there we go. That's another game that's always synonymous with PC. Gravity Gun, enough said. Dank Souls, gonna skip that because we've already established why. Portal 2, kind of an improvement on Portal 1 in pretty much every way, especially with more new puzzles and more new mechanics you could get away with, and the cool co-op thing that they did differently. MGS1. Oh, strange enough, we've seen MGS1 now. We've seen MGS3. 4 and 5 definitely don't deserve to be on this list, but I'm curious if we'll see 2. Probably wouldn't put it above 1, though. That's the strange one. Yeah, MGS1, again, is one of those landmark games just in gaming in general. Back when Kojima could actually beat Kojima. Mass Effect 2. Wow, that's really that high? I mean, it's better than Mass Effect 1 in most ways. In fact, you know what? I would say it's Mass Effect 2 is better in gameplay slash combat because they tightened it up, they improved on it, and more importantly, they got the performance right. But Mass Effect 1 just feels like a better game in pretty much every way. Although Mass Effect 2 does have a better... Mass Effect 2 has the best... Granted, I've only properly played Mass Effect 1 and 2. I gave up on 3 after a couple of hours. But Mass Effect 2 has the best sidekick slash ally slash whatever you want with Thane. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, I actually forgot, now that I see this, Geralt was on the thing. And I do think it's funny that they used the image, the pre-downgrade image. When it was only being developed for PC, they used the pre-downgrade image, and then obviously the game was massively downgraded because it had to factor in consoles. I've never actually played The Witcher 3, so I'm going to have to skip it. But, the game has critical acclaim, and it speaks for itself in many ways, I'd say. I think it's funny so far. Well, there's Bloodborne. We're going to skip this, of course. But I do think it's funny that now that we point out The Witcher 3 is on here, we haven't seen Cyberpunk. But there's 3 more spaces. And I worry because I still remember someone from the original image that we haven't seen. And there's still 2 other games from the top 4 I was thinking that could be on here. Two of them we've already passed. That was The Last of Us Part 2 and God of War 2018. So we could have The Last of Us Part 1 and, well, I guess The Last of Us 1, whatever you want to call it, and God of War Ragnarok. Tetris. It's hard to argue with Tetris just because Tetris is fun, Tetris is good, and it's got a legacy. It's Tetris, after all. Oh, number 2, The Last of Us 2013. So I already know what game number 1 is now because of the starter image. Unless they're gonna just hit me with the woo op and debate me completely. But this is a big indictment of what I was saying at the start. I love The Last of Us Part 1. I love it. It's fantastic. It's one of the very, very, very few Sony games I actually like. I'm not a big fan of the way Sony does a lot of their games with the whole wannabe cinematic storytelling, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a fan of many of them. I love The Last of Us 1. And yeah, it should still not be anywhere near number 2 on this list. It's nowhere. It's a great game. It's an excellent game, but it's nowhere near the narrative and storytelling cinematic masterpiece that everyone makes it out to be. So unfortunately, I know what's number 1 because of that image. Yeah, and it's Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. You know what? We're 2 days or a day or so before Tears of the Kingdom launches, and I'm just so disgusted at the seeing this as number 1. I pretty much told you so, so I'm not even going to talk about it. We Audi 5000, G. Peace.